Now we begin our first session that brings together leaders who are at the forefront of managing change in travel.
Traveling has become unpredictable, especially when conflicts and economic uncertainty shake the world. Today, travel isn't just about where you go, but what you face along the way. War zones are expanding, and global tensions are affecting the tourism industry. What was once easy now feels highly unsafe. So the question is, how do we adapt to the changing circumstances? With better planning, policies, and stronger systems, the travel and tourism industry can be made resilient. Join us as we explore a discussion with industry experts to keep the world moving despite the global travel disruption.
And to carry the first panel discussion forward, I'm delighted to call on stage my colleague, Shivan Chanana, who's going to moderate this panel discussion. And joining Shivan on stage are esteemed dignitaries, Nikhil Sharma, Managing Director and COO, South Asia, Radisson Hotel Group, Mr. Sandeep. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Next up, we have Mr. Sandeep Dwivedi, Managing Director, Amadeus, South Asia. And joining us, we also have Mr. JB Singh, Director, InterGlobe Air Transport and President and CEO, InterGlobe Hotels. We also have Mr. Manish Puri, Head of Global Sales, Air India and Air India Express. Thank you all for your time and for joining us today. Over to you, Shivan.
Thank you, Nikita. Well, our first topic, and this is, I would find, not the most upbeat one because disruptions has really caused, it's been a dampener for everyone because tourism, travel, it's that cutoff that you want. For work, if you're traveling, it's that extension of your work that you want to excel, to grow. In every way, travel helps. There's no denying that. There's no debate in that. But when there is a disruption, where do you take it from there? But before we start, anytime there's been a disruption in the last couple of years, more in the last few months, there are geopolitical tensions, airspace closures, route changes, economic issues. The first toll, usually, it's the aviation sector. And if anyone disagrees, please come in. And this is not going to be a monologue for anybody. We'd like to keep this discursive. And everybody from the audience, most welcome to come in anywhere if you want. But Manish, let me start with you. I wanted to understand, from all the, I think the mic would be on. Go ahead. Yeah, but Manish, every time there's been any kind of a disruption, the aviation sector would perhaps be the first to take that role in terms of domestic travel, international travel, any which way. I wanted to just understand from you. And you can also answer that on a more personal, experiential level in terms of Air India and otherwise. What's been the biggest disruption if we just look at the last 2 to 3 years?
Thank you, Jyoti and WION to call me for this panel discussion. First of all, today we have first year of Pahalgam incident which happened, so my condolences to all who lost their loved ones. And actually, the disruption started from that day, and one after the other, while it includes the Air India incident, and then some stability in between. Then there was a disruption in December, and then obviously this Gulf Middle East crisis. You're right, it impacts aviation as hospitality are the first ones, not only from the budget cuts, which usually a traveler tends to do. And post-COVID, aviation and hospitality saw a pent-up demand also. Couple of years, the demand had gone up, and we saw some good times after a very bad couple of years in COVID. what it impacts Air India or aviation is multifold. We already had a Pak airspace closure for us. And then after this Middle East crisis, the journey of a flight which goes to Europe or US has significantly gone up. It only doesn't mean higher fuel cost. It has much more complexity in it. We have a crew restriction which is there, where a particular crew can fly a particular number of hours. And if a flight goes, the same aircraft which used to take 13 hours, it start taking around 17 hours or 18 hours, there is immediately a shortage of crew as well, the cockpit crew and cabin crew also. So you have to further curtail your operations and bring down the number of frequencies just to maintain the schedule integrity. Apart from the Middle East crisis, there is this last 1.5 years, because of the geopolitical and India-US probably economic uncertainty which is there, the overall long-haul travel has got impacted. India-US for Air India particularly is a big market for us. And as we transform with getting more and more wide-body aircrafts, Europe and US remains a very critical aspect of the business. But yes, we need to see a little longer view of everything what is there. We need to see the silver lining of that once this crisis gets over. Hopefully everybody who has curtailed their travel will again come back with a pent-up demand. And that's the time where as the ecosystem we'll probably bounce back. But yes, currently the disruptions are impacting the travel, the schedule and the leisure travel specifically.
Mr. Singh, let me come to you next. Pent-up demand, is that the silver lining, as Manish mentioned? Because as of now, of course, last year was rather chaotic. This year, we've seen enough happen already. But, you know, as someone who's worked across aviation, hospitality, and logistics, you've seen disruption across different domains. I wanted to understand which one of these has proven to be most resilient. Let's take it in a more positive light from here.
Yeah, so I mean, pent-up demand obviously is there. We saw that post-COVID, the industry in India just took off in every area. But that's also reflective of how our economy is doing. The economy is growing, it's sustainable, there's trade, there's commerce, the within India economy is very, very strong. So that is also there. In fact, I would sometimes joke in the office when you were seeing your 2030 plans and you saw this big hole over 2 years. And if you drew a dotted line, the economy was just running on track. Demand was running exactly the way you predicted it to be in 2022 or 23, and it continues to grow. So I think that's one very, very important thing. And even if we look at it from a global basis, tourism is going to contribute 11% to global GDP by 2033. And will grow to 16 trillion from the current 11 trillion. So there's general growth. I think that's one. And your second question, logistics is the strongest. It's just the nature of the business. It's not as regulated as aviation. You can move goods and services around. Does get impacted by tariffs and stuff like that. But generally, there's a need to move things around. That doesn't mean that supply was not constrained. When supply gets constrained due to variety of things. It kicks in inflationary issues and things like that. Hospitality is the next resilient one. It's got underlying asset base. It has the ability to pivot into local domestic market, like what you said. There's a lot of hyper-localization that happens. We saw that in COVID. And then, the margins are better over time. So that becomes possibly the next more resilient one. Also, it also depends what kind of disruptions are there. Like in pandemic, everybody got hit. Aviation takes the brunt of it. And I think Manish explained it very eloquently. There are multiple issues. And most importantly, regulatory issues. You alluded to the crew hours. But look at the current situation. There's massive demand coming into the Far East, but you can't deploy capacity because of air services agreement, multi-bilateral issues and stuff like that. So yeah, aviation does end up taking a hit. But then the good news is it all bounces back super fast. Economy is growing. overall growth projections continue to remain very, very solid.
Nikhil, as far as operational impact is concerned, you have a large South Asia portfolio. In the last 12 to 18 months, I wanted to understand from you, operational impact in terms of that, which has been the largest, which has been the least in terms of your, of all that's under your purview.
Thanks, Shivan. Firstly, congratulations to WION and Jyoti ji for the iconic summit. And I must say her welcome note kind of encompassed almost everything. Coming to Radisson and the last 12 to 18 months, first things first, I think disruptions and crises are here to stay, right? You've been hearing it. It's just how resilient and how ready are you? And I think today the country is far more resilient and ready from that perspective. If you were to look at the current West Asia crisis, a few fundamentals before that, India continues to be domestic. The metros and tier 1 cities have 85% consumption. And if you go to tier 2, tier 3, the consumption of domestic tourists is as high as 95 to 97%. So hugely resilient from that perspective. But that said, of course, global currencies, global travel does have an effect. So currently, if you were to look at it same time last year, Bangalore and Hyderabad are trailing behind by 25 to 27% from an occupancy RevPAR perspective. And that's just the nature of the business, right? But you're not seeing that impact if you go into tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities. They continue to be resilient. Same time last year, as a brand, we're doing 3 to 4% higher than same time last year. So that's really where we are.
Isn't it? That's great.
That is great news.
Absolutely. Sandeep, let me come to you with that now. Travelers, and all of us here have traveled in some way or the other. Do you feel, or when you look at a traveler base, do you find travelers becoming more resilient given the challenges that we are all facing in some form or the other? From your own perspective, if you can share with us.
So, hello. Yeah, good afternoon. So, I think what Nikhil also mentioned, see, disruption is becoming a new normal norm now. Means whether we go back, means
made peace with it by now.
Yeah, I started my career in 2008 in travel domain. And from 2008, we see the Lehman Brothers crisis, SARS. We can name the events after event, whether volcano eruption and all those things. And this is normal. Keep on going. But I think human tendency is to talk about what is there currently. And so last year, if you look into whether Operation Sindoor or Air India crisis and now. So I think from a travel perspective, it's becoming a normal norm. Now, what we see from a booking behavior, we see immediately a shift in a booking behavior. The searches on an alternate route started immediately within, I can say 2 to 3 hours once the disruption started. Means we looked into the data from a 28th Feb and start looking into data till date. So the shift on a business immediately happened within 24 to 48 hours. So what does it say is that means basically the demand is not disappearing, it's redistributing. Like JB mentioned, of course, the challenges of a alternate, the supply has become a challenge over there. And so, and especially if you look from an India perspective, we are very digitally adaptive nation as such. So when you're digitally very savvy, you see the reaction and the behavior immediately because you start searching. And the searches very clearly shows and booking behavior very clearly shows that it's immediate. And so from a number perspective, people are talking effect on a business means from a booking perspective, if I look into numbers, we are down somewhere on 27% on booking of air ticket bookings. And these are numbers I'm comparing with January only, not comparing with last year because already we are having a challenge this financial year, April to this thing. So 27% down. And Middle East, of course, India travel a lot. But people forget that Middle East, a huge amount of is a labor traffic. So even with the labor traffic, means the demand has gone down 27% because labor is not moving. I don't see that as a big kind of a hue and cry about it. Yes, the business impacted. So another interesting number, if you look into the destinations alternate, which is coming up very big way. I'm sure everyone know that Vietnam is the biggest one, 189% jump versus last year to this year. It's not a small jump, 189%. And if I give you numbers of a booking on an air side versus February whole month, 28 days of February, versus April till now, means let's don't go back to the history, nothing, real check on a number. Vietjet bookings has gone up by 89%. Vietnam Airlines booking has gone up by 50%. So that's clearly show the Southeast is picking up. So traveler who want to travel, they would try to explore something. And so, because we have a mix of a set of people, and India, unfortunately, there is no clear data around that what is leisure traffic, what is a corporate traffic. We are not able to differentiate that, whether make my trip traffic is a leisure traffic or a corporate traffic. SME totally book on a leisure side, so we cannot differentiate that. So corporate, of course, take a first impact, because I always see that disruption on the air side and or anything, inflation and everything, travel is the first thing which take a hit. Because I always say that travel is a barometer of an economy. They are the first one to recover, and they are the first one to take a hit on that. But with the buying behavior, with the maturity, especially Gen Z and all those things, millennials, Gen Z, I think the travelers of Vietnam, and especially I'm sure you will agree that Japan this year has gone up by 45%.
Absolutely. I think there is something that they're doing very right in terms of tourism.
I will not say they are doing only right. Honestly, Japan don't want that tourist. You know that. Means the amount of traffic. But Indians want to travel. What is their choice? Means I'm sure you will agree with me. Means Paris is the destination we are selling somewhere, but they don't like people going over there. So similarly, like the scene is coming for Japan also. Problem is that there is no alternate. Like where the capacity is there, where the supply is there, demand is there. Let's be very clear. Demand is there in Indian market. Because India has a unique, like everyone agree that middle class and young population. But after COVID, everyone learned that they spend where they spend, means white goods, mobile, and all those things become a first spend, and second they spend on a travel, because that's experience, they want to learn.
Understood.
So I think discretionary incomes are there now, right, and travels are there. So if I remove, means, because see, we see the numbers immediately. If I remove only a labor traffic from Middle East, and how do we do that? The agencies which book only labor kind of traffic.
Understood.
So overall, it's only 2% down. So overall number, if you look into February or a January versus April number, Middle East is down by somewhere around 8%. Now think about it, that how much of traffic which goes. And these numbers, please underline that I'm removing the labor traffic. Leisure is only kind of 8% down the amount of traffic, because it's an off season. That's why we are seeing that.
But Sandeep, hold that thought. Let me just quickly get a quick understanding from all of you all, and I won't put anybody on the spot on that. But if in one line you can define the Indian traveler, and anyone can come in first, because, yeah, please go ahead, Nikhil.
I think India today is a net exporter of tourism than an importer. We are 30 million travelers today, expected to be 100 million by 2030. So that's really India in a nutshell.
JV sir.
You know, in my mind, there's no prototype. I think there's a lot of depth in what travels out of India. There is the high-end exploratory and, you know, the first-time traveler who are going to nearby destinations.
Manish.
Resilient. I think just as after post-COVID, now also as soon as Middle East carriers have opened their inventory into India, all flights are going full. So they don't mind if there is some disruption at the airport, which they saw, but if the price is right, they're very resilient to take that risk and travel.
So you feel about that strongly because you're definitely counting on that pent-up demand too. So I get that.
Correct.
And Sandeep, one line.
Travel is not a luxury now, it's experience.
Perfect. Manish, let me come to you. In terms of international travel, do you find Indian travelers looking at some corridors more than others? And Sandeep did mention about the ASEAN countries, you know, and how Vietnam has suddenly become, there's been a surge in traffic. Is that also to do with the surge in prices in domestic locations, that people would find it maybe equivalent in cost to travel to Vietnam and come back rather than go to any other destination in India?
Correct, and Vietnam is selling for last couple of years and growing at a very, very fast
Vietnam
pace.
is one example, you can expand it.
But yes, obviously when there is some disruption on the western side of India, there and people who want to travel, it's a holiday season for us. There is a shift which is happening into domestic and probably Colombo and Southeast Asia and Far East Asia. Definitely, Japan is the flavor since last year. So people are changing the shift. Only dip which we see as an airline is because of almost 3 times the cost of fuel which has gone up. And it's going to go further up in May because there is no reduction in the oil price even in this month also. Whether the airlines will be able to manage that much of capacity with the high cost, because as the fares will go up, the tendency for customer to go for a travel may curtail. So anybody who wanted to go to Europe may go to Vietnam. Anybody who wanted to go to Vietnam probably may go only to Jaipur, right? So they might travel. They still will travel, but obviously the buying pattern will change, and the destinations wherever a price sensitive market is there, they will travel on that side.
If I were to just leave it open for the audience here, if you have the option in the similar cost, sir, you want to come in? Yeah, please go ahead. No, that is definitely, I'm sure.
And second point is all the airlines, whether you take the Indigo, whether you take the Air India, both are going in the huge financial losses. And one or the other reason, whether you take the fuel cost or whether you take the Pakistan, the banning of the route or the cancellation of flights or the crew issue, one or the other reason is there. So, and the companies, the corporate, the travels, they are also going into the budgets. So they also see the budget is there. So even the domestic tourism, even the people, we also see the budget. This is my budget, where to go. And not the airline sector. You see the hospitality sector, the hotel industry. There are also huge packages there. And there are two, the MICE and the wedding tourism we have to promote.
Understood. I hear your point. But
Yeah,
I think that's essentially what we're also discussing. It's disruption. And of course, that will have its own problems that it will create. It will cause disruption. That's essentially what we're discussing. But I wanted to just come to the audience with that. If you have that chance to spend the same amount of money and go to perhaps any of the ASEAN countries, or perhaps revisit one of your favorite locations within India, which one do you kind of look at by a show of hands? Outside India? Okay, everyone chooses India, is it? So that, no, I can hear the smirks. I can hear the grins. All right, fine. I won't probe further into that, but I think that answer comes across. But if we translate into the industry, sir, Nikhil, I'll come back to you. When across the hotels that you look at, and you mentioned this briefly in your initial answer, if you can just elaborate, which side do you mostly see the southern aspect of India and the northern aspect of India traveling to more? If you can just explain largely.
Look, firstly, I must say the fundamentals of the country, the GDP growing at 7%, the infrastructure coming in, Delhi-Dehradun highway as an example, the more infrastructure, the train networks coming in, the more and more infrastructure you see in the country, the more travel will be better. And it's for brands like us to put the flags for the travelers to have a place to stay, right? And Manish alluded to this 1 year ago. The Pahalgam incident. We operate the largest inventory in the valley. We have 5 hotels in the valley, and we have a hotel in Pahalgam, and we saw the effect there, right? So did that base shift? Yes, that base shifted. Did Goa benefit to a degree? Yes, but did Goa do as better as the previous year? It didn't, because flights, and I think we've all alluded to it, whether it's Thailand, Vietnam, or even Laos or Cambodia, the Indians are traveling there in hordes, right? So I would call it Greater India. But that said, the traffic in the country continues to grow domestically in each state. In fact, the numbers in Madhya Pradesh, the numbers in J&K, even after the incident, because of religious travel, have continued to grow.
I just want to bring in and this is centric to Delhi largely, the pollution season when that comes in. How much does that help in breaking past any kind of disruption that it is causing? Because I heard my parents tell me that we've already planned where we want to go in October or in November, and we're going to go for about 25, 30 days. We want to get out of here immediately. So, and those are plans that I think everyone starts creating in their heads. Whoever has that capacity to travel or the ability or the time to travel at that time, they've already deciding. How much of that do you find translating into the industry? Sandeep, I'll come to you with that. Is that a good enough reason to break past any kind of disruption that may be being caused at the time? Just getting away and finding clean air to breathe?
So we always see these trends whenever there is this thing, and it's becoming not only from a travel perspective, it's becoming a more of a real estate business now. Because people who can afford to travel, they can afford to have kind of a second house, kind of this thing. So that trend is really becoming very big time over here, especially in Delhi, because people can afford in a smaller destinations. And like, we know that the kind of Goa and everything. But of course, when the season comes, especially that winter season, when we have a huge amount of pollution, doesn't mean that we don't have a pollution today also. Still, Gurgaon is the highest polluted city in India, right, means last week. But having said that, people try to move over there, and especially more travel we see on a domestic side at that time. We see a trends moving toward especially northern part of India, especially, and southern part of India. Jodhpur, Jaipur, Udaipur, all these destinations, especially tier 2 towns, also start picking up over there. From a, means these are the based on the booking behavior numbers what we see, and especially on the southern side we see that, and people opt for it. And the business, of course, it's a kind of a for our business is an extra demand of this thing. Yeah.
You can just bring. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. JB sir, I'll come to you with that. In terms of the destinations across India, and let me look at destinations like Coorg or Kunnur, or let me talk about Nagaland also for that matter. You've suddenly seen a surge of Nagaland in a lot of these web series. We've seen it in a couple of these, and these web series have done very well. A reality shows also, and we've seen that suddenly in the last 2 years. How much of that is also being pushed, and how much of that, or this kind of a push through social media, minimally, but largely through web series, helps a basic traveler want to go and look at these places? Because I remember seeing Kunnur in one of these web series that I'd seen, and more than the web series, I was just looking at the location. And we've seen movies also being shot over there. I think Kapoor and Sons was shot over there. But I wanted to understand, when you have disruption being caused, and then you have web series or any kind of entertainment medium projecting a place which just looks beautiful, does that also break past any kind of a pressure that one is feeling?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And there are enough learnings on that with international destinations. Bollywood has been an influencer. And not just in travel, Bollywood has been over the years influencer around countries' values, all kinds of things, and in general entertainment. Spain took off, Greece took off, many destinations.
Zindagi na milegi badwaro. I think Spain was on everyone's card. Whoever could go wanted to.
Yeah, and even in the old days, Silsila Time and so on, or even Mera Naam Joker, they're different. So there's enough examples out there that when you showcase destinations in a very beautiful manner, in a very meaningful manner, it does create a desire to travel. And that's happening here now. Like you said, web series, they're doing that. The local tourism board's also very, very active in getting their destinations out there. And then it's all then infrastructure, road connectivity, air connectivity also drives that. And like you said, Dehradun, I remember when the Rishikesh highway came up, prices in Rishikesh just went through the roof, because you could travel to Rishikesh, decide today and get there in 5 hours. So it's a combination of many things. But yes, this is an important one and does help.
And Manish, I'll start with you on this, and of course I'll ask everybody, your favorite destination, and let's look at India here.
My favorite destination is my hometown, Dharamshala. I prefer going there.
Okay, there's a round of applause for that. And that's a place I've also been wanting to go, but okay.
So it's a scenic, still not filled with a lot of tourists except on the weekends. So yes, you tend to find such places don't get that peace in most of the popular destinations which are there. So
I hear your point. I think every time there is a reel from Dharamshala or anything that pops up on Instagram, I do end up seeing it at least 4 to 5 times, looking at those hills and those snow-capped mountains. JP sir, I'll come to you. Favorite destination?
Pretty unknown. It's actually a little village. I'm biased because I go there very often.
Fair enough.
It's a place called Sitla. It's in Uttarakhand. I know Vasudha knows it. She's got a place nearby. Wonderful views of Nanda Devi. So I find it very rejuvenating. So we go there quite often.
Sandeep?
So also my home state, I'll say Himachal, and Kasoli is always my favorite one.
Fair enough. Close enough to Delhi.
Close one.
Close.
Yeah.
Nikhil?
For the hills, it's Kashmir for me,
Yeah.
and for the beaches, it's Goa, hands down. Very cliche, but that's what it is.
No, I think everyone can agree with these. Sir? Oh, okay, there's the mic. Go ahead.
Well, I'm Rajiv Mehra this side. I thought when we are talking about disruption, you as a moderator should have taken up the point of what will happen to the customer. We have seen so many of disruptions happening, and hats off to the hoteliers sitting here. They have all cooperated with the tour operators, getting refunds. Some of the airlines have, some of the airlines have not. So you must ask this question: what is the fault of the client who's booked and paid, who cannot travel? He's ready to travel. You give him guarantee that everything is all right, we will take you there, we'll give you security cover, everything. He's ready to go, but we can't. As a private body, none of us. Hotels like Radisson's or others, they all gave refunds without any questions being asked. But some of the airlines did not. It's a loss to the hotels, it is loss to the airlines, but what about the poor tour operators or the travel agents? It's a loss to them. हमने 8-10% कमाना नहीं है, वो भी चला जाता है. ऊपर से गालियाँ अलग पड़ती हैं क्लाइंट से कि भाई ले आओ हमारे को, हम क्या कर सकते हैं, हमारा क्या कसूर है. But that question should have been asked by you. What disruptions, and some kind of an answer is required on that. Thank you.
Fair enough. Panel still on, sir. I have a whole list of questions. I won't. There is enough that I want to ask. But let me come to what sir has asked. Let's take that. Let's address it. It's a keen concern. And as far as customers are concerned, and in some respect, I think we are all customers when we are also wanting to travel. What happens to the customer is what he's asking. If anyone would like to come in like they were there.
So I think it's when the disruptions happen, I think everybody wants to help. There is a lot of time. Even the government intervenes and gives a directive also to give that easier customer refund policy. And recently the car which has been released by the government of reducing the time taken of refund from 30 days to 14 days is a good welcome move, where we only need to see that when any such kind of regulation happens, anybody will have to adapt to a change. There is a complexity involved in a GDS link carrier where a refund has to be given. It's quite easy on the LCC side. So yes, it is very important to look at what is customer looking at, and at various point of time, I think all airlines have come out with a very especially when this European disruption had happened. Everybody, I think, came out to the best possible limit of giving that exception to the customer to take a rescheduling which is free or a cancellation which is free. But I'm sure, Mr. Mehra, definitely there will be some cases where it would not have been taken care. But I think a very large extent, when there is a disruption, usually the airlines and hotels take a very lenient view of while it's so-called not force majeure, but yes, most of the time they take that lenient view.
And while Mr. Mehra asked a part of the question that I had written for me, let me just extend it a little further, and let's come to that already. You can keep the flow of the questions aside now. We've seen disruptions and we've seen crowds gathering at airports, waiting, not knowing when the next flight will take off, when it won't take off. And I understand all of y'all's profiles do not reckon an answer to that. But just as concerned concerned professionals from similar industries. I wanted to understand where should the customer be going, because resilience is something we are seeing in the customers, but at one point you just have to deal with the situation you're dealing with, because disruptions are what we've seen, at least in the past 18 months, is largely being caused by geopolitical tensions or war issues, and that's in no one's hand. But where does the customer go from there? What should you find customers dealing more in refundable tickets going forward? Do you see a trend like that? How is the customer becoming more resilient? Because these are situations that no one wants to face ever again. Anyone wants to come in first? Sandeep, go ahead.
I'll take that question.
Yeah.
So, I think disruption, we know that one or another way it's going to happen. Okay, now I'll come to the customer side later on, because certain facts we have around that. But, so the question is, especially from a tech space, I can tell you, means the resilience on a tech is not, is no longer a backend from a system point of view. It's a kind of a non-negotiable need around this thing. So what as a tech platforms we do to take care of, like designing our architect, moving to the native clouds and creating a alternate systems around that, because the thing what you talk about, especially IT outages, which happened roughly around 1 year back, more than 1 year back. And because we were on the center of that, because Amadeus has a center of whether we talk about air side, whether we talk about airport side or customer side, we are a center of nerve for that. So, of course, we learn with this thing and we try to design. Means the question is, like I said, from a disruption point of view, you cannot prevent the disruption, but you can design for a failure. That you're ready, that you're up, and you're ready to run the system immediately around that. So alternates are there, everything over there. Now, from a customer perspective, very interesting thing what we are seeing, especially on the air side, NDC is coming over there, and different fares are there. So flexibility of a booking means bifurcate the population, especially like Gen Z and millennials, because they are more tech savvy. They try to look into everything. When they try to see uncertainties or something like that, they try to book on a more of a refundable fares. So there is a concept of, Mr. Mehra, there is a concept of caveat emptor. Means, I think we can, means from a customer point of view, of course, we can talk about they not got the refund, but think from an air side. You just said that, somebody has just said, Air India make a loss, Indigo make a loss, Spice make a loss, everyone is making a loss. How long you can continue to run a business means depend on principals who are making a loss. So I think behavior has to change, and we are seeing that behavior changes. Means people are opting for a refundable fares, and that's why so many, on a travel side, if you look into insurance, it's a, means, alternate kind of this thing. You buy on an insurance, like especially, of course, that's a business, like if your train ticket is not getting confirmed, we guarantee you will give you airfare. I think that there is a huge data analytics run around that. So that kind of concept, and they are doing very well, means from an insurance point of view, means if there is anything unforeseen circumstances comes over there, there are products available now, and people opt for it. So I think it's a situation, and there are alternate routes are there. The question is only, I think, from a customer perspective, they are not looking into that, the disruption is there, and what is going to happen. They are looking for a solution. And whosoever provide a solution is going to be their brand. And in that, from a travel agent perspective and all thing, I think I always suggest that adapt to the technologies, look into the trends, look into the behaviors, opt for alternate products which is available in a market, means insurance or anything, which can take care of it. But having said that, we cannot prevent disruption.
Manish, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, just to take a cue from what Sandeep already went towards that side. With Evolved now, it's not a single fare which gets sold. There are multiple branded fare families which are there based on the need and requirement of a traveler. If the traveler feels that one, disruption has become normal, and second, if his travel is uncertain, there are various levels of fare available in that fare family to buy. And what pattern we have seen is the communication and display is very critical. We have seen it on our website. We have seen some of the online travel partners. If you display that fare levels to the customer, there is a very strong attachment coming to buy a little higher fare but getting that flexibility. What support we require probably is from the traditional travel partners. They probably only offer the lowest fare to the customer and probably are not communicating that if you pay 300 rupees extra or 1000 rupees extra, there are 5 more things available because of the closure of that sale. And that's the difference we are seeing, that wherever on our website where it's clearly demarcated that there are 3 levels of fares and a choice is given to the customer, every third or fourth traveler is ready to pay that extra premium. But when it is coming from the traditional travel partners, that attachment is not even 1 out of 10. So probably that engagement of the customer choice is changing. So we need to also evolve and start communicating to the customer that if you need these flexibilities and all, you need to pay a little bit higher premium, but then you have a peace of mind.
You're preparing the design to counter any kind of a possible disruption. I think that's something that has become an added expenditure, but one would rather pay that little more premium than be stranded somewhere, not having a backup plan.
Customer is paying. Pre-COVID, it was always a price point. Post-COVID, because of disruption became kind of normal. You didn't know whether there is a third COVID wave coming or not. People started paying that, and then that has become a new normal.
With the number of highways that have come in, the expressways that have come in, I personally have come across a lot of people who, in my own circles, are actually preferring to have a 10-hour drive once again. But with something we used to hear about in the 90s, there is no other option, fine, you go by road. But now people are in fact preferring, who can afford air travel. Do you find a change in destinations suddenly gaining more traction because the connectivity by road has improved? Do you find any such thing? And of course, I won't come to Manish for that, but the other gentleman.
Yeah, absolutely. We've opened hotels in places which I think a lot of North Indians wouldn't have even heard of. I'll give you an example. Saputara. It's on the banks of Maharashtra, but you get a lot of Gujarati tourists coming into that location. Karjat. I can go on and on with locations which are new locations. Of course, the traditional destinations continue to grow. Himachal continues to grow. Northeast, we are seeing a lot of traction. You spoke about it. But you will see with the 50 new destinations that the government is doing, new traffic coming to those 50 destinations, or whether it's 50, whether it's 12. But of course, Ayodhya as an example, and I'll go to religious tourism again, right? There are 45 new hotels coming up in Ayodhya itself, right? So there is that much more traffic. Varanasi, and I can go on and on about destinations, but as road goes on, the travel will increase.
Is that a hedge? Is that a hedge against possible disruptions, which is almost becoming a norm every couple of months now?
You see that globally as well. Huh? I mean, in more mature markets where the infrastructure is better, you see more hotels, more motels, and more travel from road. And India is not going to be any different with the infrastructure that we're getting in this country.
You mentioned something very interesting, Nikhil, and I'll come to the other panelists with that. Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, the reduction in the amount of travel, that was the least, if I understood that correctly. If you can elaborate.
The impact of West Asia.
The impact of West Asia
was the least in Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 cities in the country. That's what we've seen in Jan, Feb, March, and the trend continues in April.
And that's essentially because this is a market which is looking at domestic travel?
That is correct.
That would be the case?
That is correct. And a lot of FMCG, a lot of IT, a lot of SMEs traveling to those destinations, along with, of course, holiday destinations where people would go home to dharamshalas and so on and so forth to meet their families.
I'll come to JB, sir. Sir, in terms of logistics, when you look at the situations we're facing, whether it's internationally affecting us, whether it's domestically affecting us, what have been, I would say, the top 3 biggest issues that you, as in your professional capacity, face, and what you understand the customer facing?
Well, the first thing that immediately happens when disruption happens is supply routes, I won't say shut down, but they get constrained. So first impact is pricing goes up 3 times, right? And that's a converse of what Mr. Mehra was saying, where instead of looking for refunds, customers now have to pay more. And a lot of the supply chain works on advance orders. I'm talking about the industry, not the chain. So that becomes a big issue for the customer, but then it also becomes a big issue for the operator because your costs have gone up suddenly. So that's a big one. Labor continues to be a big issue in general. Labor gets constrained. So you end up with lesser people manning stations, stuff like that. Equipment gets constrained. We saw that during the COVID period. You're seeing it now. In fact, other things happened during COVID where your supply, the conduits of supply get disbalanced. Containers get left in different parts of the world and they have not been ferried back. So even if you have a ship, you can't move stuff. The same thing happens on road as well. So the whole supply thing gets constrained, pricing goes completely out of whack. You have a major issue on the labor side, and the pressure then becomes enormous. And getting back to normal takes time. By the time you reposition things, it takes a lot of time. So the industry goes through that, but the industry also is pretty agile. So it has the ability to manage costs very well. It's not that regulated from a government sense. It's regulated from the other sense. But there's a lot of outsourcing that happens in the industry. So whenever you see a disruption happen, you actually see constrained capacity, but you see those companies doing better. So they come out of it pretty strong.
You mentioned supply chain disruptions, and that's something anybody from the industry is going to be facing and is going to be taking right on the chin. But I wanted to understand the supply chain disruptions which are perhaps being caused on a regular interval because of matters which are not in everyone's hands, of course. How much of that throws back plans of development, whether it comes to hotel development or... Go ahead.
No, big time. I mean, especially with imports. Domestically, you still manage it, right? But when it's imports, when there are multi-jurisdiction involved, it becomes actually very worrisome. And it could throw back things by 1 year, 2 years. We saw that in COVID. But more importantly, the escalation comes in. So your projects like copper went up 200%. Your development costs will go up, but they tend to come down as well. But they usually go up faster and they're slower to come down as it sort of readjusts. And again, your labor, you have a lot of labor issues when you're building hotels. I remember at the time when COVID happened, we had, I think, 7 projects under development at that time. And, we really had a lot of trouble getting them out of the gate. But in general, if you are better prepared, I think I just want to call out here, we need better preparedness. There are enough tools now coming out, there's better data coming out, even from a supply chain side, on what you could do when disruption happens. How do you reroute? So domestically, there's a lot of tech available today on how you could reroute. And then the ability to share information. I think Jyoti mentioned that. The whole Gati Shakti program is about getting the entire logistics framework onto one portal. So everyone can see how the lanes are moving, and if a disruption happens, where is available capacity that you can move. So a lot of work is going on there as well.
Manish, you wanted to come in there? I saw you pick up the mic, so I'm just...
Sorry.
We start wrapping up, so any part...
Whenever supply chain discussion, there can't be worse sufferer than Air India.
Please go ahead, explain.
Despite ordering 470 or 600 aircraft, the first line fit aircraft which Air India got was on 7th January 2026, while by 31st December we should have got 28 new wide-body aircrafts. It's a supply chain issue, and obviously the customer, to a certain extent, understands that why the customer is facing those issues. But yes, for aviation or hotel, supply chain has been post-COVID has been a big deterrent, especially for India, that to develop and grow very, very fast, you obviously need certain supply chain, whether it is the aircrafts or whether it's the seats. We have a 350,000 standing in Toulouse for 6 months now. We don't have seats for them, so it's come after 6 months. So it's a huge ripple effect which comes on aviation.
Understood. We're almost out of time. Nikhil and Sandeep, just quickly, if you can give us some parting note before we wrap up this panel.
Since the topic was disruption only,
Yes.
so, and in this disruption word, I think the new thing is AI, which is coming up over there. So in a disruption, how AI is working right now at Amadeus site, we are not here to predict the disruption. We are here to look into, there can be two kind of disruption. One is a reactive, and reactive that how AI can help us over there on a reactive side, that we are immediately giving a response to that. And second is predictive, that like geopolitical and some natural disaster is a reactive one, or like tech failure is a reactive one. But COVID kind of situations and all those things is a predictive. And there you can help on an AI basis, you provide alternate options and all those things. Then you predict and try to prepare yourself over there. So the time is coming, merging technology and adopting a technology over there and providing a solutions over there.
Nikhil.
So from a hotels perspective, I'll say we've classified hotels. We've just hit the mark of 200,000. I truly believe in the next 5 to 7 years, we will hit 1 million operating classified hotel rooms in this country. So it's a golden period. And I would put a plug in for scaling, because talent and scaling at the base level is extremely important for us to grow the economy. The Prime Minister has set a target of growing the GDP of travel and hospitality 5% to 10%. We had 5.5, 6%, depending on who you would listen to. But I truly believe in the next 4 to 5 years, hospitality and travel and tourism will be 10% of the GDP.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all our panelists. And with that, we'll call it a wrap on this panel. Of course, we've taken the questions from the audience as well, not avoiding any of those hard-hitting questions which are required to be asked. Thank you to the audience to come in and ask those questions which demand answers. As of now, Nikita, I think we will felicitate the guests.
Thanks so much, Shivan, and thank you all. Thank you so much for your time, and indeed a very, very insightful session. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure there were big key takeaways as the travel and tourism landscape evolves. Thank you so much. And I would now like to invite Mr. Prasanna Raghav, the Business Head Innovation Studio and EVP Marketing, to join us on stage, please, as to present a token of appreciation to our esteemed panelists. And of course, Ms. Jyoti Mayal, thank you so much. Can we have you on stage, please? Well, travel in 2026, it's definitely not just about where you're going, but also how you're interacting with the culture, the communities, stories, the kind of stories you're bringing back to your home. And travelers today are not just, they're curating experiences, truly reflecting who they are as travelers. And this is exactly what the iconic Travel and Tourism Summit 2026 is all about. We're here to decode the new traveler, the new travel experiences.